Hi there, hope you're having a lovely day so far. Well, for many, the idea of self-isolation with the ability to stay home is a dream come true. There's no drop-off and pick-up from daycare, from kinder, from preschool or primary school. There's no peak hour traffic. And let's face it, you can stay home in your PJs all day if you like. But when people are stuck indoors for long periods of time, especially with young children, it can increase the risk of exposure to safety hazards in and around the home. And this is something that we need to take into consideration in view of our current situation when, let's face it, we are all busier than normal, juggling working from home combined with extra stress and responsibility of supervising, entertaining and homeschooling our kids. Now, to help bring out the issues and the topics around this and to share expert information and advice on how we can make our homes Kidsafe, we welcome our very special guest, Melanie Courtney, the Kidsafe Victoria CEO. Now, as an introduction, Kidsafe Australia was established in 1979 and they are a charitable organisation dedicated to the prevention of unintentional death and serious injury to children aged from birth to 15 years. Thank you so much for your time today, Melanie. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Rachel. Thanks so much for having me. It's certainly a different and strange time, and I empathise with all of that introduction that you just provided around homeschooling and working and all the challenges that do come with that.
Yes, it is. I don't want to use the phrase unprecedented times because we've heard it so many times in the media and everything else, but definitely it is presenting a whole heap of new challenges to modern living, more so than we've ever experienced before in our history. Now, to begin with, could you tell us a little bit more about Kidsafe and how, as an organisation, do you actually help to support Australian families?
Sure. So Kidsafe was started in 1979 by a group of paediatricians who were sick of seeing so many children coming through injured or worse in the emergency department. So we've been around for a long time. We've got an office in every single state and territory. And basically our role is to educate and empower families to keep their kids safe. A role which we do very seriously. We meet a lot of different, families and work really closely with communities and stakeholders to make sure that, our key messages do get across. We also do a lot in terms of advocacy. So, legislation changes and improvements have certainly come along in that time. So, our remit is quite broad, which obviously makes it really enjoyable, and we're very passionate about what we do.
And so Kidsafe has recently celebrated your 40th year anniversary, and this is a tremendous accomplishment. Now, what is the organisation most proud of achieving during that time?
Look, that's a great question, Rachel, and I think there's so many things that we could put onto that list, but I think the most important thing is when we were started back in 1979, there were around 750 children who were dying every single year from preventable injury. We're now down to around 157 a year, which is still, for a well-developed country like we are, that's still 3 children every single week. So it's still really significant, but compared to where it was, we've really come a long way. So I guess that's just the broad overall achievement, I guess. And it's not done alone. We do that in collaboration with a lot of partners, a lot of stakeholders and other people who do help with those as well.
And when we take into consideration how much the population has increased over the 40 years as well, and considering the numbers have decreased down to what they are, that is a really great accomplishment. So well done, congratulations on that. And look, we published your article and the title is How to Keep Your Little Ones Kids Safe at Home. There's some really great messages in this. So for a parent who hasn't read the article yet, can you please give us a little bit of an overview what it's about and just tell us what inspired you to write it?
Look, I think home safety is really close to our hearts. Particularly at this time, we've got parents at home who are trying to work, you've got kids at home who are homeschooling. There's just that extra stress in there of how to keep your home safe for children. So I guess we thought we'd just provide some practical tips for parents to enable them to do that. Because I think when you look at home safety is a sort of whole topic. It can be a little bit overwhelming. You know, we talk about curtain and blind cords and button batteries and falls and water safety, and you know, if you look at those in isolation, they can be a bit overwhelming. But we do have a home safety checklist, and I think that's what we encourage families to do. Just take the pressure off, take your checklist, go through the house and really make those changes, particularly if you've got young children. So obviously home is the leading cause of, the leading location for most injuries for children under the age of 5 in particular, which makes a lot of sense because it's where they spend most of their time. And, you know, when you're a new parent, first-time parent in particular, home safety might not be high on your list of priorities. You're working out how to feed your child, you're working out how to sleep, both your baby and yourself. So it can be something that sort of slips through the cracks. So, you know, for us, it's really important, and it's where most preventable safety does sort of start.
We'll have a link through to that, the checklist that parents can access, as well as a link to the article, which has got a ton of information in there. You do mention in the article's first line that home is the most common location where children are injured. Could you tell us why this is so?
Yeah, absolutely. It's because they spend a lot of their time there, but it's also where they're learning and developing a lot of new skills. So, you know, it's usually where they learn to start crawling for the first time, which presents a new set of hazards. It's where they'll start walking for the first time. You know, once they do reach each of those developmental milestones, they actually can access a whole new list of hazards, which is really, you know, they're such exciting milestones as parents to go through. But they certainly present challenges as well. So, you know, there's and children obviously aren't aware of, you know, what the risks are, what the dangers are. They're top heavy as well when they're younger, so they can fall really easily into things, including buckets of water. So, you know, the home can be really tricky for children. And also safe and welcoming as well.
I would love to read a short paragraph from the article, and sort of quoting you now. Preventable injuries are the leading cause of death for Australian children aged 1 to 14 years. And the one and one of the leading causes of hospitalisation. So every week across our country, 3 children are killed, and a further 68,000 are admitted to hospital for treatment due to preventable injuries, the kind often referred to as accidents. So the home is the most common location where these injuries occur, and it is our youngest children aged under 5 who are most at risk. So you also mentioned that the home is the environment where children spend the majority of their early years learning, developing, growing and playing, and therefore it's really essential that we make them as safe as possible. So I'd love to know, is it the fact that the homes our homes are built with more adults in mind that childhood injuries occur, or is it something else?
That's a really great question, Rachel. One of the things that we do recommend that families do, which we always get a few strange looks about, is actually to get down on hands and knees and crawl around the house and look from a child's perspective, because it is completely different to what we see. And obviously if it's safe to do so, not heavily pregnant. If you're heavily pregnant, don't get down on hands and knees and do anything like that. But really, you do that sort of thing and you see open drawers of a cabinet as a stair to climb if you're a child. Like it's a very, very different perspective. So, you know, I think that's definitely the case, that it is designed for adult functionality, and, you know, often the child safety things are an add-on, which, you know, you might have to put in gates to secure off certain locations and certain rooms, and, you know, remove furniture as well that's not safe, or at least secure it. So, yeah, I think that's a really interesting question.
So what are the stats, and how many children are injured or die from preventable injuries?
So as you said, it's 3 kids a week, and when you think about that, it's 3 previously healthy kids per week that their family is not taking home. Like that is huge. And then you talk about the 68,000 per year, which are admitted to hospital. So, you know, that's not emergency department injuries. That's actually an admission to hospital, which can result in severe disabilities as well, and life ongoing consequences. So, you know, it's really those ones that we do focus on, and I think you know, people sometimes don't take injury that seriously because they think, oh, it's just a fall, or it's just a scrape, or it's just a bruise. You know, obviously those things are part of normal development, which we really encourage and are really necessary for kids. It's the more significant injuries that we really focus on and try to prevent, because that can have a huge impact on a child's quality of life, on their ability to exercise and, you know, be active into the future, as well as obviously on a family if the worst does occur. And like we said, 3 every single week, it's huge.
Yeah, unbelievable. And what are some of the top safety hazards that parents should be aware of in their homes that can cause injuries to children?
Look, there are a lot of hazards in the home, but again, they can easily be rectified with use of that home safety checklist. A couple that we've just seen that are sort of coming up now with the whole COVID pandemic are home gyms that people are starting to have. I can speak experience. My husband's turned our garage into a gym, and the kids love it. They love going out there, but it's really important to try and make sure those sorts of areas are secured, and that they don't have unsupervised access. And even when they are supervised, that there's some equipment that they just shouldn't be around. So really heavy weights or treadmills, things like that, can cause a danger to children. So that's more sort of in this current environment that we're seeing, and things like poisons as well. So hand sanitizer seems to be everywhere at the moment, making sure that all poisons are out of reach of children. You know, laundry detergents and things like that can just take a little lick to really cause some damage to a child. And then a couple of the other ones, I guess we're coming into winter as well. So, you know, making sure that you've changed your batteries in your smoke alarm, which hopefully everyone did at daylight saving. Carbon monoxide week is at the end of April, and that's run by the Chase and Tyler Foundation. Vanessa, who runs that, lost her 2 children to a carbon monoxide poisoning incident, and has just been amazing ever since in really raising awareness around that. So, you know, if you're starting to use your heaters because it's getting a bit colder, make sure that you do get them serviced every 1 to 2 years, and get a carbon monoxide detector in your house. Other key ones, one that I'm personally very passionate about, furniture tip overs. Again, we've got a family that have been, you know, they've lost their son due to a furniture tip over, Blake Shaw, just devastating. And it's one of those things that, you know, if you've got heavy set furniture and it's not secured to the wall or to the floor or wherever it's supposed to be secured to, you know, take 5 minutes to do it. Go to the local hardware store, spend $10 on a attachment, and make sure that you do anchor it to the wall, because it can, you know, it can save a life at the end of the day. The same with curtain and blind cords. We had 2 deaths in 2009 and had a whole host of new legislation that came in afterwards and awareness campaigns, and it's been amazing to see the impact that's had. But we did have 2 incidents in Victoria late last year, one that had a horrible outcome for a 5-year-old. So, you know, those sorts of things, if you've got hanging your loops and blind cords, again, same as the furniture, take the time to secure them to the wall. Button batteries, they're the things that terrify me the most as a parent. You know, they're quite small and innocuous looking, but if a child does swallow one of those, they can burn through the esophagus in just, you know, up to 2 hours. So again, before the COVID pandemic hit, we were seeing 20 emergency department presentations every single week across the country from button battery ingestion. So just being aware of, you know, what items in your household do have button batteries. It might be like they're in remotes, they're in phones, they're in anything that lights up. If it lights up and it's small, it's probably got a button battery in it. So, you know, make sure that those compartments are secured, and that they, you know, they can't be accessed by children. If they can, get rid of them or keep them out of reach. I don't have them in my house. I hate them. I'm terrified of them. I've met a beautiful mother, Alison Rees, who lost her daughter Bella from ingesting a button battery. They don't know where that button battery came from, and it's just so heartbreaking. So, you know, I feel like those families that are going through what they've gone through, and to tell their stories and share their stories, which is really difficult to do, particularly now with, you know, a lot of the reaction that comes back via social media. You know, the least that we can sort of do is really take the time to make sure that we have checked our house for those things and done something about it.
What about water safety as well? I mean, in most sort of states, the temperature is still warm enough for children to be jumping into the backyard pool as well at the moment. Maybe not so much as we're heading into winter, but tell us a little bit more about this as well.
going to say it's definitely too cold in Victoria for that at the moment.
Yeah.
But look, I think into winter we see different issues. So, you know, we do see substantial drownings every year. Usually over 60% of them are attributable to backyard pools. So that's something that families who do have pools need to be aware of, winter or not. Kids are attracted to water. So make sure that you do have a functioning pool gate and latch, and that's up to current standards. The other ones to look out for, particularly coming into winter when we are likely to have more rain and things like that, are buckets that might fill up with water. You know, we've seen kids, all it takes for a child to drown is just a few centimetres of water. So it's literally just between their nose and their mouth. If that can be covered by water, they can drown in it, and it takes 20 seconds. So particularly for those younger children that we were talking about before who are really top heavy and can just fall in and not have the ability to get themselves up, it doesn't take much. So again, it's honestly, it's just being aware of those things. You know, maintain your pool barrier, your pool gate, empty any buckets, and supervise your kids. If you do need to, particularly now because they're probably home all the time, if you do need to, you know, go to the loo or whatever it is, make sure they're in a safe play area that they can't access any of those hazards.
Mm-hmm. So what can parents do to prevent all of these injuries then?
Well, and really it's getting down on their hands and knees. It's getting that home safety checklist. It's going around their house. So once you know what the hazards are, which is the first big issue, then it's working out what to do with them. So is it securing them to a wall? Is it removing access from the child? You know, what actually is going to make that particular hazard safe? And the biggest one and the most important one is doing it now. I think, you know, there are so many things that get on our list that we say, oh, we'll do it tomorrow. You know, child safety, it's a really important one to do now. Like if you know that there's a problem, if you know that curtain and blind cord needs to be fixed, don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till your child finds it and you know, has a play with it like they inevitably do. You know, just go and do it.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Kidsafe do a lot of work in conjunction with the government to make positive change. Can you maybe just give us a little bit of an explanation as to what you're actually doing on a larger scale at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of work around the country, and it's different in every state and territory in terms of what programs they do deliver. In Victoria at the moment, and it's halted for now, but hopefully we'll start redelivering soon, is the Safe Kids program, where we're providing free child car restraint checks for families. And that's not just for parents and carers. I think, not just for parents as well. It's for grandparents and anyone who cares for a child. You know, grandparents are actually one of our biggest audiences because they do spend, and I thank my mother in this as well, they do spend a lot of time looking after our children and are just amazing. But it's just as important that their house is set up as safely, their car's set up as safely as it is for the primary carers. So, you know, we've been providing that service, which has been really interesting. Actually, we've had some fabulous results from that, which we'll circulate soon. But yeah, basically, I think, and again, speaking from Victoria's perspective, you know, there's over 80,000 babies born every single year. 35,000 of those are to first-time parents. So, you know, it's really important that we do continue to educate and empower those parents to know what to do with the newborn and make sure that they're safe as well. So, you know, that's where we work with government to make sure that it is an ongoing message that's getting out there through the maternal and child health system, through the antenatal system, through the early childhood sector. You know, there's different messages at each point, but all are absolutely critical.
Mm-hmm. A really valid point what you were mentioning before about ensuring the grandparents' home is equally as safe as the parents' home. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know that Kidsafe have got a heap of different free resources for parents. You've mentioned the checklist, which we'll ensure we'll have that link in the introduction paragraph. Is there any other resources that you actually have within your website so that parents could actually sort of go to find that could help them during this time?
Absolutely. So if you go to the kidsafe.com.au website, we've got National Burns Awareness Month coming up in June. So we've got a lot of resources up there, and we are actively working towards getting some resources directed towards preschool kids and school kids. so that, you know, you've got something to do with them in this time as well, on the weekends, not during the homeschooling times, which are complicated enough. So we've got lots up there. Kidsafe WA has actually got a virtual house online, which is fabulous to go through and look at the hazards more visually than just a checklist. There's videos, there's quizzes, there's all sorts of things up there. So I do really encourage you to take the time to visit and, you know, read whatever is of interest to you.
Mm-hmm. You've given us some really critical information today. If you were to summarise your key messages for parents listening, what would they be?
Oh, I think the key one, download that home safety checklist and do it today. Go around, find out what in your house is actually a hazard and figure out what you're going to do to modify it, and then just make the change. And I also think it's really important to educate kids as early as possible about what the hazards are. It's not their responsibility to keep themselves safe, but it is really important to let them know that, you know, fires aren't safe to touch or go near. The earlier you can start that education process, the better. So that it really is a holistic approach to safety.
Mm-hmm. And if parents want more information from Kidsafe here in Victoria or any other state and territory, where can they find you?
So we do have an office in every state and territory. We've got a website for each state and territory. We've got the national website, and we have social media sites for every state and territory too. So you cannot miss us if you're looking.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. We'll have all of those links in the introduction paragraph. We're so grateful for your time. Thank you so much, and can't wait for the next chat. Take care, and give my love to the kids. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Bye.
Take care.